All right, I am selling my boat and I decided to do a video because I think it's just easier than putting a bunch of pictures on the internet. Then you don't know, you can't really see, right? So this will be about a 3 to 5 minute video, but you can stop it and pause it and you can see all the little details here. So why am I selling the boat? Well, I haven't used it in a lot in the last 2 years because I am starting a brand new business. And to be honest, because it's sitting and it's a good asset for me, I'm going to be using the funds for startup capital because my business has taken off. I haven't used it much. Last year is a good example. I actually didn't dewinterize it until October. So I only used it for about a week last year for the annual greenback run on the Red River here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And so I'm going to do a walk around for you guys, and I'll show you here. So I'm going to flip around the camera. All right, so first of all, I'm going to mention that there's two covers that come with this boat. One is on the boat all the time. The other one I use for trailering. The one on the boat is a bit of an older cover. It probably would survive, but that's what I do. I always have two boats or two covers all the time. And then what we do is we swap them out when we are going on the highway. So the highway cover has only barely sees much, but the reason I do that, stone chips, and also it really improves gas mileage. So let's just take a look what we have here. So we have surge brakes, and we have, I don't know if you can see it over here, a swing tongue trailer. Okay, so you just pull that up. This whole thing then collapses over and swings out. Okay, we have, of course, the gravel guard on both sides. So if you see it from here, so that obviously prevents the hull from being damaged. Something that's really neat with these tracker boats is the step. So you can step here, and then obviously the smaller one there to get into the boat. It's also really good to be able to step down here when you're trailering the boat, so then you can actually winch up rather than trying to jump down or get your feet wet or that type of thing. So we'll walk around here so you can see that it's in very, very good shape. I was looking around, there's actually little to no dock rash. When we come back here, this is an all welded hull. That's why I wanted the Tracker brand. Very popular brand, all welded hull. I think what I'll do is I'll get a tape measure for you guys. All right, went into my garage and got a tape measure. You can see that it is attached over there, and you can see that this has a beam of 98 inches. So that is over 8 feet. Okay, so needless to say, it is very, very wide, very stable boat. It's a deep V. Now the other thing I wanted to talk about is the transom saver. So this boat has had the transom saver on since the factory. Obviously that saves the weight of the transom. And we'll also mention the stainless steel prop. Also very good condition. You can see my bottom end is not dented, scratched, damaged, but again, it's only 178 hours on this. You can see here, this is a ski tow bar that was on my old boat. The reason I have it here, it's called a turbo swing. You can check it out. They're about 1,500 bucks. You actually put your tow rope on here, and you can see that it is attached to the engine bolts right here, the engine mounts. And it's very low in terms of what it does to the boat. So it actually doesn't make the boat, with the bow lifting into the air. Now, I do have a ski pole, but the ski pole normally goes, in this little hole right there. And then you can imagine it's 4 or 5 feet above. So I don't want to put pressure on there. But that being said, I've never actually towed anybody with this boat. I actually use this because it's really handy. It's very, very sturdy. So if I have to reach, change out a prop on the water, that type of thing, I can just sort of put my foot on here and then lean over. So that's why I have it on there. I'll also point out, we'll be talking about this when I go into the electronics, but this is the Lowrance puck with my Lowrance graphs that you can see at the helm over there. That allows the boat to be so that you can know exactly where the bow is pointed without actually having to be moving. Here is the filler cap. It has a 39-gallon tank. Again, I will walk around here. Oh, I guess I should mention dual axle trailer. Okay, so that is really good for that. You hardly ever feel any bumps on the highway. Also gives you a little bit of peace of mind for the weight of the boat. The boat is an 18.5 footer. Again, you know, there's hardly any dock rash on here, but there's only 178 hours on the boat. This has the full-size trailer in spare in there, and you can see that I've got, I don't know if you can see that I've got a special security lock on that. All right, so let us go up here. See if I can do this with one hand. All right, so we're going to use these steps just down there. Okay, so standing at in the bow now, you can see that there's a lot of room in here. Okay, now these cushions I actually had to pull. I'm just going to step down here. I had to pull these cushions out of my garage because I've never used them. I fish. I don't really use this for pleasure boating. So these things, you can see how good shape they are. They've been in a plastic bag for as long as I've owned the boat. All right, so what do we have here? So when we're in the bow here, we've got an active target. Now, if you're not familiar with active target, that is what they call a live scope. I've got a handle here, and then I've got a quick release here. So basically all we do when we want to start moving is we pull this pin, and then I'm just going to tip this up, and we just put this in until it locks. And then it stays like that, and you can drive, okay? This gets plugged in through this hole right there. And then we've got I'm not going to hook it up right now because we're not in the water, but that goes all the way through. This mount can come off, obviously. We've got the VersaTrack that goes all the way around. So that allows you to move around your rods wherever you want to, that type of thing. It allows me to take this thing off if I need to. Okay, here at the helm, or sorry, in the bow, we've got another puck, which is for the Lowrance Ghost. So this is a 36-volt trolling motor. Okay, now I will say that every battery, every piece of electronics, every fall I actually pull them from the boat. Yes, I uninstall this Lowrance Ghost and I store them downstairs, and all 5 batteries, there's 5 batteries in this boat, are put on a battery tender. Okay, so I've been doing this for a very long time. This is my third boat, and that's just the way I take care of my things, and they last a really long time. All right, so I'm actually gonna probably move these cushions in a second here, but so we've got, you can see here that it's actually working right now, although we're not in the water. So that is actually the active target. If you really want me to show you, I can, as I'm moving it, you can see it changing a little bit. But this graph has full capabilities and is networked with the ones at the bow. Okay, so I can get anything that I want there. It's a Lowrance HDS 9. Here we have, that's for your navigation lights. We also have underneath here another storage. We have storage right here where we've got extra tackle boxes. I will show you this under here too. So this, sorry, I don't normally have these cushions in here. This boat actually has, this is a live well. I'm using it for storage right now because there's a large live well back here. So this live well actually runs the entire length. I'm not going to open up this one because I've got the cover on there, but you can see it runs all the way through. Okay, so the entire length of the boat. So 2 live wells, large one in the back. I never use the front one. And then what I'll show you here is this one actually has a pump out feature. Okay, so you can pump out all of your water. And then we also have lights in the live well right there. Okay, so, and then this one would be for the front one. Now, under tons of storage in this boat, there's also storage under this cushion. Okay, so there's a big storage locker in there. Also have storage here that's lockable in the belly of the boat. Okay. So, I mean, I have some emergency things in there, cutting board, and obviously the paddle that you're supposed to have, but we have storage underneath here as well. Okay, so I've got a bunch of stuff in there. You've got storage up here as well. There's a shelf. We've got cup holders, we've got USB or battery chargers over there. All right. I'm also going to show you, put it on pause here, but these seats come out, and this thing is actually a huge deck if you can see how big this is. So this is a very large fishing deck, okay? Very, very large fishing deck. However, it says right here that we've got 6 people that can be here. So you're like, okay, well, there's 4 seats. What am I missing? So let me put it on pause. I'm going to pull these seats out. All right, so I've pulled the seats out. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to flip my cover forward. All right, I'm going to show you how easy this is. Obviously, make sure my lines are out of the way. And then I'm just going to grab this and flip. Okay, and then we have full jump seats. Okay, so now we've got our seats there. Put it on pause again. And that's how we get our 6 seats. Obviously, we can have people in the bow as well. All right, let's talk about electronics here. Let's sit down here. So I have 2 units here. They're both 9 inches, HDS 9. They're both low rents. And the reason I do that, let me just go here. I'm actually going to, all right, just wanted to show you. So Low Rants is partnered with Angler's Edge. Angler's Edge is a great company, local in Manitoba, and they have actually gone through and charted all of these lakes. So this is actually Otter Falls. I'm sure you've heard of it. And when we go through, you can actually see the structure of everything, okay? Including where you might hit, okay? Because if you know anything about Seven Sisters, there's tons of rocks. You might be flying through here and you have no idea that this thing is just underneath the water there, okay? That is not a surface rock, that one is, but that one's actually underneath. And so I use this strictly for navigation. And then on this one, that allows me to have my side scan, my down scan, as you can see, got side scan, down scan, okay? Now, what's really neat about this, and I'll show you the hookup in the back, is this one actually, I have purchased the Mercury engine, okay? So when we hit on that, you can see, right now it says communication error, and that's because the ignition is not on. So I'm just going to turn the ignition on right now. Okay, we're going to wait for a couple seconds and allow the signal to come to the motor. But basically what this is used for is we have trolling, vessel control, and then the Mercury itself. Now on trolling, this allows you to actually control the autopilot computer, which is actually that trolling motor up there. And that allows us here to be able to literally, I can point to a spot. So imagine if you're fishing here and I wanted to sit on this part right there. I literally just have to hit go to cursor, and the trolling motor will engage, and it will actually go and allow you to it'll actually engage and allow you to anchor right on it. So I actually won't go onto a lake that doesn't have this. They cover most of the lakes in Manitoba, but I use it for fishing, obviously, to be able to get home because it's got GPS and things like that. So really, really good. So going back to this thing here, that's the autopilot computer, but this allows you to be able to see the total fuel. What's really good here is we can go into I think maintenance. Yeah, okay, so you can see there, this engine only has 178 hours on it. Now, basically what you're seeing is this graph and display, because of the module that I have hooked into the ECM of the engine, is basically the computer, okay? So I've got, when I'm running, how hot the engine is running, the oil pressure, again, how much fuel I have left. And what's really neat is if I pull the fuel and I fill it, okay, it will actually calculate how much it is using right from the ECM in the motor. So it's super accurate. So you can imagine if you have a full tank, then you know exactly how much it's used. The other thing that you can do here is, let's see here, I can't even remember where it is. There's the ability to, there it is, troll control, okay? So troll control, engine must be in gear and idle. This troll control allows you to basically have the RPMs controlled by 50 RPMs at a time. And it can go down to like 300 RPM or something like that. So that allows the big motor, the 150 horsepower Merc that I have in the back, to essentially act as a kicker motor, okay? So yeah, I'm just gonna flip up those seats again, and I'm gonna show you the battery compartments. All right, I got the, actually I think what I'll do is I'll show you guys the both live wells first. So this is what the live wells look like in the back. So when the deck is down, you have a complete fishing machine essentially, okay? This is the bait bucket. You saw there was one in the front as well. You can separate out different species if you want, different size fish. Really good for tournament fishing, although this boat has never seen a tournament either. Never pulled a skier. All right, so I've got two locked compartments back here. This is where the electronics live. So I know it's a little bit messy, as these things are. So you can see that I've got a battery there called House, 4th battery, and I have a 4-bank charger down there, and I have another charger right there that's a 1-bank charger. And then you can see that most of the wires from the 4-bank charger are going to this distribution, and that distribution is actually leading to my 3 lithium batteries. So if we go into my rod locker here, I forgot to mention this boat has 3 rod lockers. Okay, so when we slide this forward, you can see that we have 3 trolling motors. It's 3 trolling motor batteries. Okay, you can put, I guess, 5 rods in here. I've got my nav in here, and I will also point out that I have customized very, very thick gauge wiring going up to the Ghost trolling motor in the front. The reason I have done that is because this Ghost trolling motor has the ability to do 36 volts or 24 volts. I'll show you that there. And you can change that on the fly on the water. So if you happen to have a battery that doesn't work, maybe you don't want to have your fishing day ruined, you can actually switch it from 36 to 24. I also wanted to show you that, so there's that rod locker right there, and then there's another one on this side and another one on this side. I'll just show you what that looks like inside. All right, and yeah, you can see I always put bay leaves and bounce sheets when I'm storing the boat in the winter to keep the mice away. So you'll also notice that it's just very, very wide here. I can actually stand on this if I want, right? You can fish from here if you really want to. You can sit on it. It's really, really good for water sports. Very, very wide beam, as they say. As I mentioned at the beginning, I had measured it well over 8 feet. All right, getting back here. This is actually a junction panel for the Mercury harness. The Mercury module is right there. I don't know if you can see that. And you got the 2 wires plugged into it. All right, so when you're going over here, we have the 5th battery. Okay, I'm actually going to shut the... Actually, you can hear that running right now. Okay, that is a DC to DC battery charger. I'm just going to shut it off. So I've been stranded on the water more than a few times over the years. And when I finally got this boat, which I thought was going to be my last boat, I have 5 batteries in it. I have 3 for the trolling motor. I have 1 just for what I call the house. So that is for my 3 graphs, my active target, 2 live wells, all of my lighting, radio, all that kind of stuff. So after a day full of fishing, usually most people have all of that powered into the cranking battery on the motor. And then the trolling motor batteries are powering the trolling motor. When you happen to run out of juice, you're stranded. It's a pain in the butt to have to try to get cables and all that kind of stuff. So I decided I never wanted to be stranded again. So I have a dedicated lead acid battery. And the only thing that is plugged into is the engine. Okay. Now, when we go back over here, you're going to say to yourself, well, if we have a house battery here, obviously that's going to get charged at home. How does that get, what happens when you run out of juice on the water? Well, technically you lose your live wells, big deal. You lose your fish finders, big deal, but you also lose your navigation. And that's a big deal for me. So what I did, that's what this blue thing is, and that's what was running. This is actually a 12 volt, 20 amp DC-DC charger. So this battery right there goes through this charger, and then it goes to the house battery and it charges it. However, you can hear it's not running right now because this red wire goes into the ignition, and this only turns on when the engine is running. So we've got a 60 amp alternator in here charging this battery when the motor's running, which powers this to safely charge the house battery. All right, so that is the tour. Apologize, it looks like it's a 22-minute video, but you know, those of you who've stuck around, this is not YouTube entertainment. If you're really serious about buying a boat, you probably would have watched the whole thing. So what is included here? Well, we've got the boat, obviously, trailer, trolling motor, the ghost trolling motor. I'll list this all in the ad. The engine, all 5 batteries, the entire charging system. And the tow bar. What I'm choosing not to include, which is going to be optional for a separate price. And the reason I'm doing that is because it would push up the price, and I don't know if a fisherman is going to want this boat. It might be a family who's going to be using it for skiing. So the live scan active target, the 2 other graphs, so that's the one at the bow and the one behind me, and the Mercury engine harness. Okay, if you do some research, you know I paid over $7,000 for those, not to mention the mounts and the other accessories. The boat has 178 hours on it. It's been babied. I thought it was going to be my last boat. It's really hard for me to even make this video because this is probably the earliest I've ever had the boat ready. Again, hardly used it last year. I don't know if I'm even going to use it this year. And I thought I want somebody to enjoy it now, and it needs to be run. And I'll be back in about someday when life slows down. So thanks for watching. And if you have any questions, just reach out. Be happy to, for serious people, obviously take it for a test drive and see if we can make a deal.